Well, I should probably introduce. So we're sitting here with Sara Morris from Mello Velo. I have been I had been up to the bike shop when you were in Westcott a few years ago when I got really into cycling. So that was like 5 years ago. About 5.5 years ago. Obviously been down to the new location. Absolutely, I used to go there for lunch quite often with my former coworkers at Cafe Kubal, and am absolutely in love with the Parmesan chicken wings.
Oh yeah,
I would not expect Mello Velo for some reason. First time I went to Mello Velo, I was like expecting like a smaller Strong Hearts, right? I was like, this is gonna be all vegan beet salad stuff, and then I got those wings, and they're like some of the best in town.
Thanks.
So good job.
Yeah, we love those wings. We love a good wing.
So what year did you start the original shop up in Westcott?
We started in November of 2009, and it was just the one space and just the bike shop. And, started in winter on the second floor, as you may remember. Yeah. It was very empty. It was like like you can go on Facebook and look at the pictures. It's hilarious. I can't even I don't even know what we were thinking, but we got through that. And in 2011 we purchased some of the equipment from Second Story, which was the cafe next door, and we just busted through the wall and expanded the bike shop sales floor, and then we started with a very simple menu that just kind of grew from there. Yeah.
I know from, listening for when we did, because we were on the podcast for Gerhard's last week. So from listening to that, so the story is you guys went on your honeymoon to Amsterdam. Is that correct? No, not Amsterdam.
We went to, I was thinking about it, and we actually, when we got married, we didn't, it was a very budget wedding that we did ourselves, and then we were working our butts off, so we didn't actually get to go on a honeymoon, and then we went on a mini honeymoon, and then our real honeymoon was to Copenhagen, Amsterdam, and we went to Brussels. It was like a little mini Europe trip in the middle of November when we could take a break.
Yeah. What did you guys do before you got married and started the bike shop?
We were both students. So I went to SU for industrial design. Okay. And when I graduated, it was the recession. So 2009, there were no jobs at all. I couldn't even get a serving job. I remember applying everywhere and just being so disheartened. I think I applied, I don't know, some Cheesecake Factory. It wasn't here. Yeah. But
something like that.
Something like that. And you had to take this really long test. And
really?
I was I failed the test. I didn't get hired. But anyway, so graduated, feeling bummed out about that. Steve still had a year left of school, so I was I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. I guess I'll stick around here, see what I can do. And
are you from here?
No, I'm from the DC area. Okay. So in Virginia. Yeah. And Steve's from Rochester, so we're both transplants here. Yeah. But for my thesis for industrial design, I actually ended up designing a pop-up bike shop out of a shipping container, and I had done all this research, and we lived in this house right behind where the bike shop was on Trinity and South Beach, and we had a garage that we did repairs out of, and kept doing that, and saw the space for rent on Westcott, and we were just we should order or open a bike shop. That would be a cool idea. And then, went down that rabbit hole of, we went to the SBA, got help figuring out how to write a business plan, and got a tiny little loan and just made it happen. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're pushing like 12 years later, right?
Yeah.
So, give me a short answer. I'll probably ask you for the long answer
Yeah.
later on, but the short answer is if you could go back to 2009, would you still do it?
Oh man. I mean, I go back and forth with this. I think just like having been in business this long, you go through periods of like being grateful and then loving it and then just being burnt out.
Yeah.
But I think I would do it again.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I still don't know what else I would do,
Right.
I guess. So, and the grass is always greener.
Yeah,
But
that's true. Yeah.
I would have, I guess, if I had known that this was our path, I would have maybe like taken some business classes in college or
Yeah.
done some other stuff.
Yeah.
But I never thought that this would be a thing.
Yeah. COVID or having the bike shop for 12 years?
Yeah, like, you know, growing up in DC, well, I should say the like DC
Metro area.
metro
Yeah.
area, like,
I have family in like Fairfax and
yes.
stuff like that.
So I grew up in Reston, and it's a lot of, you know, strip malls.
Yeah.
And like small businesses weren't,
Thing, really.
I mean, they were, but like a very different context. So it just like never occurred to me that that was something that you could do if you didn't have
Yeah.
like connections or a ton of money or you weren't like
Yeah.
a big corporation. So I don't know, just,
Yeah.
yeah. But
I never really, it's, I still don't know if I feel more like a business owner today than I did last year at this time. But I just had breakfast with my old high school football coach and social studies teacher. And he works up at SU now, and he had reached out like a month and a half ago or so and invited me to breakfast. So, it's just kind of weird when you think about like people you're going to connect with from like especially when you're, that young, when I was that young, 2 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. But from back then, it just like you think about like what people are doing today. Like what were your old high school friends doing, or people,
yeah.
like what are they up to? And for me, I have, high school friends that were, or used to be high school friends, or friends in high school that are now like lawyers and, like nurse practitioners. And, I'm sure some are in jail or some are, working at Walmart and some are, stock trader, right? Whatever. The whole gamut. But it just, I kind of like, I was thinking about it and like, is it impressive? I guess not trying to like be impressive, like be a douche or anything like that. But, just like, you kind of think of like, all right, well, what have you done with your life, sort of a thing.
yeah, I feel like Steve and I have kind of always struggled with that because when we opened the shop, we were so young. Like we really, I mean, I was 23. I think he was 25. So, we're bike shop owners, but we always kind of felt like, kids or like, so, always kind of like the younger people, if we go to like bike demo or conference or whatever it is. And, but to a lot of people, it's like, oh, they own this business, but it's like not even a thing because, people who own businesses come in all the time and it's just like, okay, cool. That's great.
Yeah. It's, so do you still feel like the, bike shop owners, or do you feel like, established? Not that owning a bike shop isn't being established.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely think that we've grown into ourselves a lot. I kind of just, I don't even know what to think of myself anymore, but I feel like just, I'm the bike shop mom. Like I just do all the mom duties. Like things that you don't even know mom does, like in the background, like that invisible work, but it's like done for you.
Yeah.
But no, we both, I think, have figured out our strengths a little bit better, and have figured out how to assemble the team and delegate.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
important.
Critical.
Yeah. It's I don't know if I don't know if you guys stumbled upon that out of necessity or training. I mean, this is tiny. I mean, that's a very different story, talking about being a business owner at Mello Velo, where you have the bike shop and the cafe, versus Eat Local New York. But there's things that I'm like, I'm not good at that, and I'm never going to be good at that, and I need to find someone to do that for me. But then it's always wanting to, it's like, it's kind of I struggle with, all right, is it a better business decision to struggle through this and figure out how to do it, or do I just hire the person and get it over with?
Yeah, I feel like we have a problem where it's, we can do a lot of things ourselves, so we're just stretched too thin. So and sometimes, of course, it's always like easier sometimes if you do it yourself.
Yeah.
But then you end up doing too many things and sometimes not well because you're doing too many things. But yeah, for sure, it's a constant struggle.
Yeah. I need to get to that point. I mean, at Eat Local, I don't pay myself anything. And we've been, I think we're coming up, I think February is 5 years. I'm pretty sure it's 5. I don't think it's 6 yet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But so I don't pay myself anything. That's why I work my 9-to-5 job at Gerhar's. But I have a contractor employee who, she's our community manager, just connects with the restaurants that are on the card every month and sees if they need anything from us. Make sure like the card's going well and yada, yada, yada. But last year this is our first full year of like being an LLC. So taxes are very different this year. And I just hired an accountant to take care of it. And I went home last night and told my wife, oh, by the way, I got the, contract from them and it's going to cost us this much. And, she was like, are you sure? Why don't you just do it yourself?
No, that's one thing, I love to do bookkeeping stuff. I'm nerdy and I like to enter my spreadsheets and enter stuff into QuickBooks, and it's interesting to me.
Yeah.
But we have an accountant, and we have had one since one walked into our door, however many years ago, 12. Yeah. 11.
That's good.
And that's critical.
Yeah. I love the numbers of it too. And we use QuickBooks, but I hate, in my personal finances, I have a spreadsheet, and I used to do it with just little tiny notebooks I would carry around with me. I learned when I was probably 24 that I can't spend cash, because if I have cash, I have no I have no comprehension of how much total money I have. Right. Yeah. And so I'm just spending money. And so I would always have to carry a notebook. So if at the end of the day I would spend money and then I would deduct it all, I'd have my running balance, and I would realize, okay, this is how much money you have left. So this is what you have to, use. And I don't do that. I do that with the business a little bit, but not as much. But even today, I still have this really detailed in my personal finances, records. But in the business, I just can't make that connection. I don't know what it is. Not interested at all. It's very frustrating.
Huh. Interesting.
It's very frustrating.
Well, I mean, everything's digital, so you can look up your credit card transactions and all that. Pretty easy. I mean, but I feel you.
It's frustrating. That's the thing that I'm learning most as the business develops is how much money you have to keep around just to pay others so that way you can stay in business.
I mean, like, this is crazy to think about, but I think this is the longest streak of months since COVID happened. Like, at first we didn't, but this is the longest streak that Steve and I have paid ourselves a consistent salary.
Really?
Yes. Because we would go without, we would, you know, the winter previous to this was probably like the scariest winter we've ever had. And I think a lot of like restaurants were super duper dead slow. Before COVID. Yeah, we were so slow, and the bike shop was so slow.
Yeah.
Had a lot of staff, and it was scary times. I was having panic attacks, and like we actually had to, you know, like to meet payroll, use our personal credit cards, which was like horrifying to think about, but like it all worked out in the end. But
was that the first time that it ever happened?
Yes, you know, first time ever. But it was like horrifying, and I was like, I failed. Like, what did I do? It's all my fault. Like, you know, it was super scary. But, you know, just to think about like this 12-year journey and still like, you know, oh, we should have it made, and like, no, like you don't. Like anybody that I know that has a small business like gives it their all, and they're all in, and I feel like you get to that level finally, maybe hopefully by year 15. I don't know. We'll see. But
I owned a furniture store when I was 21, and tiny. It was like, I mean, have you ever seen those telephone poles that's like queen mattress for like really cheap? So that was like the business model that I had, right?
Okay.
I had a business partner, and we had like this warehouse. It was supposed to be like liquidation, like the, you know, dirt cheap stuff, right? So it's not like it was a Raymore and Flanagan, like a big furniture store. So anyway, so when I was 21, I had put at the time what I thought was pretty significant, a few $1,000s of my 21-year-old life savings into this furniture store, and had everything in my name. And we had the store open for a year, and we opened it like December of 2007. So then like the first few months were great when we first opened, and then we went into the whole 2008 crisis, and people just weren't spending money on furniture and stuff at that time, especially from like a crappy warehouse place, right? And made some really stupid financial decisions. I took out $20,000 in personal like name loans to run like commercials on television, which didn't do anything. I mean, just bad ideas, right? Like bad decisions. And I can remember like it, you know, I was 21 years old, so I knew nothing. And I went to school at the time. I had my associate's degree in sound engineering, right? So I knew nothing about nothing. I still don't know a lot, but back then I was really dumb. And we were paying ourselves way too much money for any business, you know, for a first year business like that. But yeah, as times got tight throughout that year, it was like, okay, you don't get paid this week. You know, that money now has to go to this. Now, granted, I was 21 years old. I was living with my parents at the time. You know, I wasn't married. I didn't really have any responsibility. You know, I had this store, and that was it. But it was very, very scary. I can remember if we got our sales, and at the time, the first few months, I thought sales tax was free money. I didn't understand that went to the state. And so when we first got when we got our first tax bill and things had just started to go bad, I can remember late nights up there just walking around and really being in a bad spot. I mean, being a small business owner in tough times is a dangerous place to be.
Yes. I mean, you're like, it's crazy, like the mental gymnastics that you have to do to like just float through sometimes. But, you know, it's like, knock on wood again, it's always worked out for us. I mean, it's just the nature of being so seasonal too, because the bike shop, obviously we're busy when the weather is nice.
Yeah.
Because although, I think what really kind of got us through those winters being in Westcott is we were located in an area where people did ride their bikes all through the winter. And, right now, like we're still pretty busy. Like,
oh, really?
And, I think it's just, I think cycling culture has changed too a lot. I mean, we have, I feel like our customer base is very different, but, it's crazy.
Yeah. I love, you wouldn't know it by looking at me, but I am very into cycling. Years ago, actually the book's on the coffee table, I read Walk Across America with by Peter Jenkins. And it's this guy, it takes place in the 70s. But he lived in Alfred, New York at the time. And long story short, walked across the country to try and like get to know America and the people and da-da-da-da. So it's a two book series, but yeah, he's just walking across the country. So I've always been, ever since I read that, I've always been fascinated by like really long distance things. And maybe 10 years, because they just came up on the 10-year anniversary. So maybe like 9 years ago, I stumbled upon Ride the Divide, the documentary by Mike Dion. I think that's his name. And then he did the one on the Trans Am bike race. And that caught me like, holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got really, really, really into the Trans Am bike race. I was obsessed with it. And this is, I stopped riding my bike like a month before I met. So like almost 3.5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And so I was determined I was going to compete in the Trans Am bike race. Not really compete because, but because like the world record was like 14 days to ride across the country. So I got really into it. I was like, I went out and bought a bike that was definitely way too expensive for my level of ability, and like bought all of the bike packing gear and everything that I could, and I was riding every single day. I had already signed up for the race, and so today's 2020. So this would have been 2017, 2018, somewhere around there. I think I was gonna try and do the race in 2018, and so I took my vacation at like Columbus Day weekend in October, and from work, and my plan was to ride my bike from my house in we live on the north side. To ride my bike from the north side and then up around Lake Ontario and come back. I was going to take a week to do that. And the longest ride that I'd ever done leading up to that day was like maybe 35 miles at once. But I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So I packed, I had I had my bike loaded down and had my passport and I was ready to go. So I left my house at like 5 a.m, went up Route 11 for a ways. The long story short is that I made it to Alexandria Bay. So I got like 100.
We've done that ride in one day.
Yeah.
Yep, from our house.
So I got up there and the ferry had just shut down the weekend before. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go over the bridge. And I got up there and I put in my GPS like Alexandria Bay, which it's still.
Did you do? Because I think that was the longest ride that Steve and I have actually ever ridden in one day. Okay. Still to this day.
Yeah.
Like from our house to Alex Bay, I think it was 100. Like we got sidetracked, but I think it was 120 miles.
Okay.
Did you do it in one day?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was like 9 hours maybe. Like with stopping, and I had it was pretty funny. I was like riding up past Brewerton and on Route 11, and it was like still dark out, and people were already decorated for Halloween, and there was like this shanty motel somewhere up there, and they had put out for their decorations basically like skeletons on these posts, like right on the side of the road, that were in wedding dresses. Cool. So it was like you know what I mean? But when it's still dark out and the sun's just coming up and you're on your bike, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, I'm legitimately getting freaked out.
Oh, yeah.
And as I'm like staring at this, trying to figure out what the hell it is, I ran over a wire hanger and it got caught up in my back spoke.
Oh, no.
So
Wait, was that the end?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wound up stopping and realizing that it wasn't real.
Okay.
There wasn't like a demon bride
That's
on the
good.
side of the road about to kill me. And I got the hanger out and I kept riding. No, I made it up to A Bay and I stopped and I was like looking around and met some couple who had just taken their boat like and docked there, and they started talking to me and asking me where I was riding from and yada yada yada. I looked up in the distance and saw the bridge and realized I was still like 5 miles away. So my plan on day one was to make it into Kingston, and I figured I'd sleep somewhere and then try and go over to Toronto and then Buffalo and so on and so forth. So I got up there. There's a pizza shop like right there. So I ended up going to this pizza shop and sitting down and getting a slice of pizza. And I called my friend back here, who at the time was my drinking buddy. And this was a Friday, was the day that I did it. So I called him up and he's like, hey, how's the ride going? And I told him, I was like, I'm at a pizza shop in A Bay right now. I'm, trying to decide, do I want to get a hotel here or do I want to like go over the bridge and into Kingston? And he said, well, I just bought a 30-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon. If you just want to come back home and we can drink instead. And so this is so sad. This is not a good story. This is not a happy ending. I wound up calling a local rental car company in A Bay, and I rented a car and drove back to Syracuse and instead drank with my buddy that night. And I did not complete the ride after that. Was it. That was,
you had a good goal.
I had a really good goal, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could still do it, right? Couldn't you?
I could, and that is eventually the plan. So I wound up meeting my wife a month later, and then that's another very long story of job transfers and stuff. But I've ridden my bike since then. But that was my long distance journey. I really want to do the fanny ride that goes across New York State. I think that'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
Eventually I'd love to do the Trans Am. I think that'd just be, such an amazing experience to ride across the country like that.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's,
should do it.
I know.
You still have your bike, right?
Still have my bike. I have a Specialized, is it Roubaix? Is that right?
Yep, there's.
Yeah. So I have that and love that bike. It's a great bike. Still have all the bike packing gear and all that kind of stuff. And, it's all ready to go. I just need to, get in shape and train for it and ride my bike for lots and lots of miles. I know. So the trail is opened up, right? The Erie Canal Trail.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can pretty much go through all the new sections now.
Yeah.
Which are pretty awesome.
It's all connected. That's great.
Yeah.
I used to, on Sunday mornings when I was training, I would get up and ride my bike from my house out to Camillus, like the Four Corners out there and then back.
On the trail? Or
I would just go roads.
Okay.
The roads always freaked me out in some places, but the thing I hated about trails is I didn't know what I was going to be on. Like I didn't know if it would be paved or gravel, and I have gator skins on it, but still I don't know if it's going to, how it's going to handle on, it's a Roubaix, so it's supposed to, but I don't know how it's going to handle on gravel or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be fine.
Yeah.
If the canals, there's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But it's good to get on the roads because they're hillier.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I had ridden one morning out. My plan was to go out to Camillus and pick up the Erie Canal Trail from there, and then keep going west for a few miles. When I got out there, it was dark and super early in the morning. That was the time I always liked to ride. I didn't like to ride like midday or anything like that, or at night, just because I was riding from the city. So you've got 6 miles of city roads before you kind of get away from anybody.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that's part of the reason that we stay in this area because like you have this city, which is awesome, and that density, and then it takes 2 seconds basically, and you're out into beautiful country.
Yeah.
Any which way you go.
Right. Yeah. But so I would always go out early. So I would go Route 5, all the way through. And when you're kind of coming out of Camillus, you have that massive hill that, you're coming back up if you're heading towards the city. And this wasn't one of the last times it was maybe one of the last few times that I had ever gotten on the bike, like consistently. But I was coming up that hill on the second half of my ride and really struggling up that hill. And then all of a sudden I heard somebody's gear shift, and I didn't hear anything until then, but I heard the gear shift like right behind me, and this guy just comes flying up past me.
I had a moment like that this summer. Like, well, our daughter is 5 now, but I did not get to ride my bike very often, like having a young child and a business, and we were just like working on the building. It did not happen a lot, but like this past summer I was proud of myself, and I like rode it. We live in Marcellus now, so I rode into work, and it's it's a good ride.
Yeah, it's
and I was feeling good about the progress I had made. Like I was getting to work pretty fast, like sub 1 hour, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. And then I was going up a hill, and this old dude, same thing. Like I hear like a rusty chain. I'm like, somebody needs to lube their chain. And then he just powers right past me, and I'm like looking at his bike, and it's like a Walmart Schwinn, and my bike is kind of fancy. It's not like crazy, but I have nice campy parts on a vintage steel bike, and this guy's just flying. He's flying. I was like, oh my God. Like, that's and then hilarious. I legitimately tried to catch him, and I couldn't. So more power to you, dude.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I did. I set out on whatever day of the week it was to go. I was going to do a loop from like the back roads, Onondaga Hill to Skinny Atlas, and then cut over to Auburn and come up through Elbridge, and then Route 5 back home. And so I did that. I told a buddy of mine that I was doing that. By the time I hit Skinny Atlas in the morning, he had texted me, and he was like, hey, I'm going to be in Elbridge if you want to like meet up and get coffee or something. So I met him like right on Route 5, like right outside of Elbridge in this parking lot. I saw him like pull in, and I had such a great ride. And as I pull in like to the parking lot to come to a stop right where he's at, I like stop, and my clip just didn't come out. I just fell right over.
Yeah. Everybody's got it. Yeah, I got one of those in front of somebody.
Yeah, for sure. I really do. It's very peaceful and relaxing to be on a bike.
Oh yeah.
Very mind clearing.
Yes, for sure.
Especially when you're out there by yourself for a long time. Yeah, it's a really great experience.
Yeah, that's like it's weird because we've been in this business for so long. It's like, when it is your passion, and then you start working, then you learn to it's not really your passion for a little bit. And I was definitely in the, it's just funny too, because like I've it used to just be Steve and I, and then we hired our first employee, like who was a friend from school, and we've had like these great employees throughout the years that go to school, they come, they leave, they're like they're usually like the best ones are usually on the up and up, and they're like here for a little bit, and then they move back home or wherever they're going in life. But even some of our crew who is awesome right now that we have, like I think like I realize that they don't understand our story fully, and they don't understand like because I have some young mistake like bike related tattoos, and somebody asked me about them because they didn't get it, because they had never really seen me ride my bike, don't really know that I can fix bikes or I know anything about bikes, and you start to be separate from where you started. So I I don't even know where I was going with this story.
Well, what's your challenge with that? I mean, it's because I get that. I mean, I've heard up until this year, we started a coffee company in September. We started a coffee company. Tiny. I mean, it's just like family and a few random people have bought coffee from us. And it just exists online. It's not supposed to be some massive conglomerate, but so we started that, and that's when, and this sounds kind of, for lack of a better term, douchey, but that's when I started to feel like a little bit of an entrepreneur. Like up until then, it felt like all of this was really just kind of like a time-consuming hobby, right? So I started to feel like a little bit of like something then. But throughout the years, listening to like different podcasts and trying to get educated from different influencers or whatever, I used to listen to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, and he said it before too. Like every single day, it's one moment you're like, wow, I am doing everything well, and I am God's gift to the business owner of this industry. And then an hour later, you could feel like the biggest piece of trash. And why am I even doing this? Yeah. I mean, every single day. So, and I feel like that too. Like right now in this, like today in this moment in time, I feel like I'm doing an okay job at this stuff at Eat Local New York, because we have our marketing side of the business. And we've just, for some reason in the past week, a bunch of restaurants have been reaching out to hire us. So that's great. Moving closer to the goal. But it means that 4 of the nights this week, I've been working until 8 or 9 o'clock.
It's the hustle.
Yeah. Which I kind of hate.
Yeah.
And,
you gotta, I mean, I feel like part of what's changed with us too more recently is, I mean, personally, I guess on a, my own level, I don't feel like I really have anything to prove anymore. It's like, okay, you know, I know what I know.
Yeah.
I feel confident in what I know. Whatever you're saying is not going to change that.
Yeah.
But also Steve and I have kind of figured out the maximum that we can take before it's really bad. Mm-hmm. And you just have to set those boundaries and with yourself, with doing work, at home or family time or, and just with other people, because that was kind of what we struggled with moving into this our new location. It was something that we had been working towards for so long, and we had so much struggle up to that point, just getting it open and then finally being there, and then struggles of being in a new space and basically reopening a new business because it was completely different. That it was just go, and it had been go for 10 years. So there just has to be a point where you have to say, I can't give any more of myself because people will always want more.
Yeah.
So
do you find it easier or more difficult or just different to be in this location than when you were in Westcott?
Oh my God, night and day. I mean, you said you had been to our store.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you recall having to tiptoe and shimmy through everything and hurt yourself on a bike and it was dirty and the roof was there were always electrical issues or the roof we're on the second floor. There's no space for anything. We're just trapped up there.
I had gone there to look for, I think, my second bike, because my first bike was literally a friend called me at 8 o'clock p.m. on a weeknight and said, I'm going for a bike ride. Do you want to go with me? And I didn't have a bike. So I got in my car and drove to Walmart and bought a Mongoose mountain bike. And we rode around the north side at, really super late. And so I went to the shop in Westcott to look for a second bike. And I remember walking up, and I forget who it was that helped me, but I told him what I was looking for. And he was like, oh, here's this one. Do you want to take it out for a test ride? And I remember thinking to myself, like, is there a track up here? Or he was like, I'll carry it down. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's kind of funny because we thought we had escaped the stairs, like up and down.
Yeah.
But like our new space is also very vertical. So we're always going to the basement. Like, we're just used to it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we wanted to be in control of our own space and like, we wanted to buy a building and did all the, the renovations and all that. But
are you happy with the location? Like now you've been there for a little bit?
I mean, at first it was like kind of a stretch, but obviously we loved the Westcott neighborhood and we wanted to stay in the Westcott neighborhood, but we had exhausted all the potential options, and we were working with a realtor, and he showed us this building, and you saw the pictures, and it was like this graffiti dump, and we're like, no way. And we're like, okay, whatever. Like we looked at another building, and it was, it would have been okay. We actually almost where Rick has on the corner why am I blanking on the name? The Mexican. Right across from the kitty corner from the Gear Factory. Panchitos.
Panchitos.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. It was like Mexican. It was like, yeah.
So we almost bought that building.
Oh, okay.
And super glad we did not.
Yeah.
Because we love our home.
Yeah.
Now. And like, I think about it a lot, like leaving work late, and I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have to deal with street parking downtown or anything like that. It's just it's fun to see it from the highway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love the location. I love the building. Just everything about it, really.
It's
it really
like
is.
it's a weird building for sure. Like it.
Yeah, but it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With our we kind of wanted it to be like a destination place. So, the idea is like if you're on a bike, you are surrounded and immersed in your environment anyways. Like going to this place is not a big deal, and it's not a big deal for cars anymore. No one could ever find us on Westcott, and it's right on the Erie Canal, and
because Route 5 is the bike route, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it really is. It's a great spot, and it's gorgeous inside, and everything about it's comfortable. The back little alley patio. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I ordered quite a few during COVID. I would come here during the day, and I mean, as COVID still exists, but during quarantine.
Yeah. At first.
The first time of COVID, I would get the Utica Club beers. I would order lunch and get
cool.
Utica Club beers.
Yeah, we love Utica Club.
Yeah.
Yes, there were so many kind of iterations about, like, we wanted to definitely have an outdoor space, and we had grand plans for like a roof deck, and then comes the practicality of like 2 egresses and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
what's take COVID out of the situation. What's the is there a most challenging aspect of being a bike shop and cafe owner?
Oh geez. I mean, obviously, I think you can't do it alone. So your team is huge, and we've definitely learned a lot about everything since being open in this space, and our team is just so much bigger. Like, whereas before we could get by with fewer bodies, and now it's just it's not possible. So figuring out how that works. But I mean, like owning a restaurant, there's always something that like is broken or need some sort of fire that needs to be put out, whatever it is. And then you add in like the building, but they're all problems that like we're happy that we don't have to rely on someone else for.
Yeah.
But oh geez. Yeah, it's really the day-to-day stuff that can get in the way of where you want to go. But I think just having the right people there is the answer.
What was it like to be a business owner in Westcott versus where you are now? Like, I'd imagine Westcott has got to have like a super tight-knit group of like the restaurant owners.
I mean, well, when we were there, it was, Dorian's and Alto and Recess and like, there's a lot of businesses that have come and gone in that time, but the customers are obviously very different. Like we had a lot of, there's more foot traffic on Westcott. Yeah. So that you just get people hopping through just because they're walking around, or there were a lot more students that came. Like right now, although there's more close student housing with those new apartments, they don't really seem to come our way. But it was definitely like a grad student like laptop spot in the cafe for a while.
At the current space?
At the old space.
At the old space.
Not so much at the current space at all. Just because it's more of like restaurant service. And the bike shop was a lot more students and a lot more like international students. But now I feel like we just get people from all over, like suburbs, just regular people. It's not so much like student oriented. Yeah. But I don't know. And
I mean, I remember you sent me an email a while ago. I forget when that was. Spring,
I feel
maybe?
like it was before it was before COVID.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. It must have been right before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just talking about like some sort of a group of like owners.
Yes.
And we've talked about that before. I had the idea. I apologize, Mark, because I know you listen to my podcast, but whatever. We talked about doing it at Gearhars.
Yeah.
And, one thing I think Gearhars has lacked for like 50 years that they've been in business, they do a phenomenal job. But one thing that they have lacked is I feel like they should have been establishing themselves as sort of like what I am, like the Eat Local New York, to like the local restaurant scene. And they didn't. And we do a lot of business, a lot of big business all across the country. But I just feel like in Syracuse, we should be known as like the supporters of local restaurants.
Right.
We're getting there. We're doing more. It's not like now that I'm there, I'm doing this, but just being there and having the ability to do this stuff, having all the camera gears and the audio gear to be able to produce our own stuff is a huge benefit, because production companies typically charge a ton of money to do that kind of stuff. So we're kind of slowly getting there, we started doing like customer spotlight videos and cooking videos with local restaurants and the podcast and just all that kind of stuff. Anything we can do to kind of get the word out there about the local spot. So we're slowly getting there. But that email that you'd sent me, I'd mentioned that to the whole crew there, and they're like, yeah, once we can get people together, that's awesome. I would love to have something. It's my idea was to do like a monthly meetup at Gearhars and have Michael Scrow kind of lead it.
That'd be cool.
So that way it's kind of like, it's not just like a group of restaurant owners getting together and, some owners can be like, I'll tell you everything. Some owners are like really quiet. They don't, they're worried about like competition and whatnot.
Yeah.
And my thought was having somebody like Michael there to do like this month we're going to talk about how to be a better leader, how to listen to your employee. He would have his own stuff that he would do.
Yeah.
I thought that'd be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember what had sparked it, but I had listened to a couple episodes and it like struck a chord with whatever I was going through at that moment in time. But I was thinking a lot about it because, we had just come out of that dark winter.
Yeah.
And I actually had started seeing a therapist like again, and which has been off and on. And she asked me, she was like, "So do you think this is helping you?" And I was like, I yes.
Yeah.
And the fact that like I really did not have anyone to talk to about anything that's going on in my life. Like, because like, okay, Steve and I talk about work, but it's like, we don't want to talk about work all the time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we both understand, we both know, but somebody else, please.
Right.
And can't talk to your employees. And it's like, your friends, like, do I even have friends really? It's like hard to have like a personal life and have time to have like friends. And like all my friends that I have access to right now are like, I've met you through the bike shop. So it's like, where does my life end? And it's just work. But like just having somebody to talk to who understands. And I just felt like, at least in, when we opened the cafe back in 2011 and Recess was the spot. Yeah. Like there was some pushback. And it's like when we took over it was called Second Story. And it's like we like are not adding another one. We're just keeping this other spot going. And like people, like I felt like some people were mad about this like neighborhood, like
Westcott's tricky.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that has changed and it's eased up, and we've just been a lot more like welcoming to small businesses. And I love Jesse and Adam. Like like we have been longtime customers, and they're really
great people.
Yes, and like they get it. I see them. It's like, oh hey, like old friend kind of. But
I had them on the podcast a while ago, and we were talking about how there is this other person who didn't care for them because they did the same thing. And I remember Adam just so innocently, he was like, I just don't know why he doesn't like me.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that, too. And, like, I felt like, Syracuse has, at least in the food world, has more of, like, a competitive vibe versus, like, that something of camaraderie. Like, you feel, obviously, because it's different when we've gone to, like, bike kind of expos and stuff throughout the years, and it's just instant camaraderie, but it's like we're not in the same city, you're not our direct competition, and just kind of like craved that connection for the restaurant world. And I had been in small business, like family business groups, but I always felt like an odd one because it's like, all right, we're just a small restaurant and a bike shop. We don't own like a canning factory. We're not like like you could still learn from each other, but it wasn't super applicable. Or everyone in these groups are like 50, 60. It's like, here I am, 25, 27, and like I can't really relate. Like I can learn from what you're going through and apply whatever that is to my own situation, but just at different levels. And even like the other types of like business groups out there, like even like I tried some women's business groups and it's like the same thing. It's like I'm not at the like we're I'm not getting anything from this. But,
it's very, very challenging. There's no question about that. I mean, I have, like, our business is such little risk. I mean, it's almost no risk. And I think having a failed business in the past has made me do it that way. Yeah, it's kind of a scary time because we have a few different sides of the business. We have the Eat Local card sales, and that's really busy from end of September to January 1st, right? That's when like 90% of the people buy the card. And we just had a great year. We, went more than double from what we sold last year, which is awesome. And then we have the marketing side, and we do the marketing for a bunch of restaurants in town. And I mean, that's what kind of funds everything. And so that's really exciting, and I love doing all of that. And we live in the north side. We don't like the north side. My wife's from Boonville, hour and a half, north, quiet town and like the Adirondacks sort of a thing. I wish I didn't buy my house. I bought it before, a year or two before we ever met each other. Just don't like living in the city, I've found out. Although we do have chickens and a nice big yard, so that's been fun to have that.
We used to have city chickens.
Did you?
Yeah, when we used to live just on Otisco Street here. So near West Side.
Yeah.
Funny story about our chickens. One of them escaped and it was missing for like the entire summer. And then like October, November rolls around, it's back in our yard.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what happened?
I feel like somebody had their like egg-laying basement chicken and it was like winter, or maybe not even basement because it was summer. So like, they're like, what do we do with this now? Let's give it back.
We got them. I had a lot of ideas during like the early days of COVID, how I was going to be as busy and yada, yada, yada. And I was going to do more stuff at the house. And so in quarantine, one of those things was going to be to have a garden, but we have a huge yard. I bought the empty lot next to our house when I first bought the house. So we have a really big yard for the city, but during COVID, I was like mowing the grass every week, and I was like, I'm going to plant a garden, and we're going to have a little mini urban farm, and the ground has never had anything. So I was like, all right, well, I really need to spend a season getting the ground ready. How do I do that? Chickens, I was like Googling composting, and then, chickens would be great. So we got chickens.
Yeah, our house, like, same thing. Like, we got the empty lot next door.
Yeah.
And it took us 5 years before our soil was
really
good.
Wow.
So then we moved.
Yeah. Do you still have chickens?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
That's cool. How many do you have?
Right now there's 7.
Okay, that's what we have.
Yeah.
We got 10 like right from when they were hatched. I was trying to find somebody around here and I just couldn't. I wanted Rhode Island Reds, just for the noise level, and I just couldn't find anywhere like within 50 miles that had them, or like at least babies that we could buy. So I did buy them online, which I wasn't thrilled about, but we got them like literally 2 days after they were hatched, and one of them turned out to be a rooster, so we sent her to somebody in the country that didn't mind having a rooster. And then two of them died when they passed away. Holy cow! It was a chicken at the end of the day.
I know.
How the Lord took it home.
Yep.
2 of them died when they were like babies. So we've got 7 of them, and they just started laying like maybe 3 weeks ago. So it's wild to. Every night when I go home, there's 7 eggs just waiting. It's insane to think about. I'm not getting the benefits of having chickens in the yard though, because it's fenced in. We have a lot of like neighborhood cats, and I don't want to lose any of them. So I built just like I have a pen for them that's like, netting on top. So it's a big space.
Yeah.
More space than they need.
Gotta let them free range.
I know.
I mean, we never really had, the only time a chicken died in the 5-6 years we had city chickens was because a dog got back there.
Okay.
But, we've had seen all sorts of like city pests until we moved to more of the country, and we've lost our whole flock twice.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
it's crazy.
I have a friend who lives.
The cycle of life.
Yeah. A friend of mine lives in Manlius, and he has a bunch of chickens, and he would just, he would let them out in the yard free range all day long while he was gone at work. And he would just always text. He would always send me like a text, like a picture, like I lost one, or I came home and one of them's missing. I don't know what happened, stuff like that. And I know it'll happen, but I don't want it to happen. So one of the biggest things is I don't want like a neighbor. I don't want it to like one of the girls, actually. I'm going to talk about them how I talk about them. I don't want one of the girls to, hop a fence and then me get come home to an angry neighbor or anything like that. But I love having them. They're great. They're fun. It's every time I walk out our back door, which is the door we use like going out of the house, the coop is right there, and they come like waddling up to the door because they're they want to get out in free range, or we give them treats, and it's just I really enjoy having them.
They're fun.
Yeah. So I forget why I was talking about chickens.
I don't remember.
It was one of the quarantine things.
Oh, yeah.
So I just said that I was going to be less busy, and that hasn't been the case. But we have goals to our plan is to move out, like buy a house somewhere in the country-ish suburbs. We don't want to be like completely removed from everybody, but we also don't want to be like in like a development or anything like that. So we're looking into just buying a new house in like, the spring, summertime. And I'm 34. We've been married now for a year and a half. We don't have any kids yet. The plan is to start having any kids in, a couple of years. So just thinking through, like, I was thinking during when I had COVID, I was like, all right, what do I want our life to look like financially? In 10 years when we have kids and, they're getting older, like, do we want to go on like 2 big vacations a year with them? Like, do we want to have like that kind of a life? Do we want to, like, what kind of a car do we want to drive? What kind of a house do we want to live? Like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then because I am always constantly looking forward to what's happening next, I was like, all right, well, if this is all the things that we've talked about, how much is that going to cost? Like, what will we need to make a year in order for that to happen? Because working a full-time job and then having this business, which is another full-time job, is not going to fly when we start to have kids.
Well, I think that really was part of our success at the beginning was, we were coming at this as poor college students used to living that life.
Right.
And like I had a serving job that, paid the bills for the business and us.
Yeah.
For our first, almost a year.
That's great.
But once you get used to a certain level, it's hard. Like, and then, owning a bike shop is a dream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's like you want it at a certain level, and you also want to live at a certain level, and it's sometimes not gonna work
Doesn't
out.
coincide. Yeah. I feel like I'm approaching. I'm not there quite yet, but I'm approaching that ugly phase where it's going to have to be one or the other before I hit the goal. The goal is for us to have 20 marketing clients. So once this business hits 20 marketing clients, then I can kind of quit and we can be fine. Live like our normal life. And as soon as I set that goal and kind of put it to paper, and my wife is opposite of me. She has zero desire to start or run a business. She has a great job. She has her MBA and has a great job, and she's fine with that. And that's how she's really successful at those things. But when it comes to like talking about the coffee company, she's freaking out,
Yeah.
So I set that goal, and immediately I'm like, all right, let's go after it. And not really without doing anything. All of a sudden we had like 3 clients start contacting us hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And so it's just been like the last 2 weeks have been absolutely insane. And I'm learning as running the business that I have to have like really strong systems in place.
Oh yeah.
I have to I can't, you can't, it's difficult to like slack off.
Oh yeah. I mean, so I think it was 2014. I don't remember, but did the SBA has like a emerging leaders programs, and they call it the Streetwise Mba. So basically, it's for business owners who are established, and you learn business things.
Yeah.
And the big takeaway was, all of us were working too hard in our business and not on our business. Yeah. And so, like, sometimes you just need to take a break and just figure out those systems before you go any further.
Yeah. So what's been the most inspirational thing that you can think of in the last 5 years?
Oh, gosh.
Actually, don't answer that. Well,
okay.
No, answer that question. We're going to come back to something.
Inspirational,
like for you as a business, or you know what? Even as a person.
Yes.
I found I used to be so much more, I don't know how to phrase this, like worldly romantic. I used to like read a lot more and write and like, and stop and have connections with people. And now I'm just like, no, I've got to, like my calendar says this. And I don't like that about myself. But I'll find like little inspirational things from time to time that'll help me. So what's been that for you that you can think of?
Geez. Well, I mean, I have always, I guess like the whole, this like dark period, where I like lost my sense of self because business, kid, whatever. Like I worked a lot on like things that make me happy. Like, who am I now? Like, do I still like to do all these things that I used to like to do? And I started cross stitching at night. And it was just like a mindless activity that I would do in bed, half watching TV, you know, and did a few of those. And that just like got me out of the funk and like rekindled some other, more art based things that I love to do still, but don't have time for. And I don't know, just like finding little things like that. Yeah. Really. Just little joys. Yeah. Not like big projects, but maybe like tiny, more accomplishable ones. I don't know.
Have you guys talked about like, do you have is there an end goal for the business?
I guess the more immediate goal is to like get the business to a place where we are organized and have all the systems that we need in place, like for the time being, I guess, until that next growth, whatever it is, happens. But, we just picked up Specialized brand.
Cool.
So that's kind of a big deal for us. Yeah, that's cool. And, obviously we want to just continue to work on and in our business, but want to take it to a place where either we sell it or whatever it is. People would always just ask, oh, you should open a Mello Velo, blah, 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 or wherever. And we're like, hell no. Like, this is hard enough in one location. But now it's kind of like I'm seeing that as like, okay, maybe that could happen. Maybe. I wouldn't say it's like necessarily a goal. But I could see that happening for sure. More now.
I want to, I've said it for a while. I want to work towards this business either getting to a place where we become so popular with like the card sales that we list them for sale, like kind of like the coupon books. Like every year it comes out, 20,000 people buy a card. That's great. And that's it. We manage like the business from there, or build it to a place where we sell it. We have some big person that wants to come in and buy the business from us. I'm afraid that like running a business has turned me into a person that I'm just always going to have something. I can't.
Like it's actually incredible to think about like the amount of projects that we do now compared to like when we first started, like when we were building out the original shop for the first time. Like it took us probably at least 2 months to like build our countertops. Like we were super proud of ourselves. We like dadoed where the shelves were going, and I like painted a little emblem on it, and you know, we like preserved like the live edge of the wood, and like did all this. Like I built like this bulletin board thing that somehow was super important at the time, and like now we just like laugh at ourselves because that would literally be like an afternoon done. We've just gotten more efficient, and like I don't know, you just do more. I
know.
You just see these projects, and somehow like try renovating an entire building.
Oh,
now everything seems like a small project.
I'm sure.
Like our current like project that we're that's kind of like we need another one, but we've been renovating an old camper trailer for 2 years. But it's like a gut job, but it's not a building. It's just another insane project.
I started one of the goals for Eat Local is to become like the Barstool Sports, but for local food. So in New York, so I want to have this constant content and be doing stuff, which, as I say that out loud, I think is kind of like pathetic. That's a goal. But having said that, so we've always had like nice cameras, and I've always wanted to do some sort of a vlog from the business. But it's kind of a pain in the ass to like set up like an actual lens that I have to adjust like all the aperture and everything with it, and make sure it looks good, yada yada yada. So recently we bought a GoPro to use as a third camera, and it's like such an easy setup for me now. I can just walk around, and I have like a nice mic on it, and so now I can vlog with that and just get quick stuff. And I just have to literally turn. It's like using my phone, just better. So I've been vlogging for like the last 2 weeks. We're putting out a weekly vlog now.
Cool.
It is cool, except like this week I've really been thinking about like, what am I putting my time, January 1st, I was like really just thinking about what are the important things that I like in life in general, like in the list of what's most important. And so my list was a spiritual relationship with my wife, relationship with like my health, and also kind of in the third spot, friends and family. And really far down on my list was the business, like way far down, but it does take up so much time. So it's like I find myself like this week I was really proud of like an Instagram post, and because it like got a lot of attention, but then I'm thinking like, man, that's like, that really doesn't mean it. But then I'm also thinking about like creatively next door, kind of like what you're talking about, like thinking about like the set for this kind of stuff. It's like, all right, what would be creatively really good to put over there? Like paint on a wall or hang up or build a set or whatever the case is. And I'm like thinking now, like I don't have time for that. That stuff doesn't matter. But I think like that creative process as a business owner is very important. Whatever it is, whatever area it is.
Oh, yeah.
You
got to find, like, the little things that give you joy.
Right. Like, what is the cross-stitching of your business?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's a creative outlet that it does make a difference, and it kind of helps you zone out and do something cool and interesting.
For sure.
I got to find my creative stitching. I got my cross-stitching.
I mean,
I got to figure out what that is.
Yeah. Like... even just like equipment buying or like I don't know. Like, like all this stuff is foreign to me. Yeah. But like I know it's like some people just it's their thing.
I get way too into it.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. Yeah. So
but that's the whole point of having this stuff was to be able to offer it for free to like the restaurants on the Eat Local card. And so that's kind of been like our shtick from day one is all of the money that we make is going into this stuff so that we can do it for them.
I mean, like the way that I think about it too, it's like who would do what you do if you weren't around? Like there wasn't like anything like this going on here before that I can think of. Like I think I don't know. You must have like the metrics of how many listeners and all that, right?
Yeah, I do. It's way lower than I'd like it to be. The podcast we get on like what we're doing here, we'll get usually like 100 to 100. Well, that's not true because of YouTube. We'll get about 400 in like that first week, viewers, listeners, whatever, and then it climbs up over time. Which in the world of this is nothing, like the world of podcasting,
right?
And that kind of stuff is very little. And then now that we've launched the new shows, it's like, all right, if I put it on Instagram, it does this and that, and yada yada yada. And yeah, eventually we just like I want to be able to put out a post. Like ideally, in my dream scenario world, the podcast would go out, Sara Morris from Mello Velo, and you guys would get slammed like that month.
Yeah,
you know. It's the same effect that like Syracuse.com has. I mean,
right.
We had the article written about the local card, and you know we sold a ton of cards that week.
It's funny how people like forget about things too.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Just need a reminder.
Right. So I mean, ultimately, that's what we would hope to do. That's what I would hope to happen from any of the stuff that we do. We had a dinner group pre-COVID. And started like a meetup.com group. And the concept was that we would just every month go out to eat at a different restaurant on an off night for them. So that way I could call a restaurant up that I know was kind of struggling, and it would be like their slowest night of the week. And I'd say, I'm going to bring X amount of people in. And we got the group up to maybe 20 to 25. And we did one really big event right after the cider mill had like, the article came out, this is maybe 4 years ago, that they had like an employee steal like tens of thousands of dollars from them. So we did a dinner like that month, and we had like 150 people show up to it. But for the most part, we'd have like 20 to 25. And it's still, I mean, for some restaurants, that's very impactful. And it was really just like me and a bunch of women 65 plus, like some widows, divorcees, like some women like husbands just never left the house sort of a thing.
Like in your group?
In the group that came out every week.
Religiously? Or
yeah. Like every month we would do a dinner,
wow.
and it would be the same people.
That's interesting.
It was really interesting. We shut the group down since COVID.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to do that, but just... you know, like I said, make the post, and all of a sudden people flock that business. That's when I feel like we would have like made it as a business, is when we can affect the outcome of a business for someone positively by just telling people about it. Yeah. So
yeah,
hopefully that happens. You'll have to let me know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, you've said it all.
Oh.
Yeah. Thanks for coming down on a Saturday night.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you. Being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.